Thank you very much. It's an old-fashioned cat fight tonight in Texas, all part of Holiday Hoops presented by Kay Jewelers. Kentucky facing the Houston Cougars with 9-1. Kentucky right now a disappointing 4-4, turning it over early. Smith gets it off to Fluff McKeever, and his first shot, just as we come to you, one of the best three-point men in the country, Hubert, and he knocks it down.
And that's one of the things you have to do against Kentucky. Regular defensive principles do not apply to Rob McKeever. You have to face front him and not let him catch the basketball.
Mark Corey got a good look in the lane, but could not get the bunny to drop. And it's Houston on the home floor at Hofheinz Pavilion, leading by 3. Smith, the point guard, gives off with a jump shot, which will be knocked down. And Houston off to a good start from the floor and getting those turnovers, Hubert, that they wanted to get against the Wildcats.
Well, it's been set up offensively by Lanning Smith, getting into the lane, penetrating, finding open shooters, and this 1-3-1 zone that Jody Meeks, for the first time for Kentucky, has been able to penetrate and get a good shot against.
Meeks getting into the game. This is the first time in about 6 weeks that Jody Meeks has been able to play because of that pelvic fracture that has held him out of action. Kentucky, Billy Gillespie got him into the game within 45 seconds of the opening tip. Here's Smith. Can't get the jump shot. Mosley follows, flips it up and in.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see how long Jody Meeks can stay in the basketball game. Remember, this is a guy that's been out of the lineup for a month and a half, coming back against a Houston team that averages over 80 points a game and likes to get up and down. Fatigue could be a factor, but not on that jump shot.
No, looked pretty smooth there. The 6'4" sophomore out of Norcross, Georgia. But you can see he is, without question, winded. He is gassed already.
Well, you know, at shoot-around, they talked about he tried to stay in shape on the treadmill and the Stairmaster. Nothing like this, running up and down the floor in a regular game against a Houston team.
And Tom Penders told us in shoot-around, as Fluff McKeever can't get it to go from the corner. He said, when he does come in the game, we're going to go right at him in waves and try and wear him down and get him out of the ball game quickly. Houston with the 12-10 lead on Kentucky. The Cougars have never defeated the Kentucky Wildcats. 0-3 all-time as Meeks tries to catch his breath. That might be going on all night long. The Kentucky Wildcats in Houston, Texas. It's Holiday Hoops presented by Kay Jewelers. Dave O'Brien along with Hubert Davis. The Wildcats have not lost 4 straight games for 18 years. They're in serious jeopardy of doing that tonight, especially, Hubert, if Houston scores the way that they have been, because that's been a big problem for the Kentucky Wildcats. If they give up a lot of points, they tend to go down. In fact, they've lost every time when they've given up 79, 78 points.
Well, when you look at Houston, they want to get up and down the floor. They average over 80 points a game offensively, and they have a lot of guys that can get to the hole and knock down perimeter jump shots. And you look at Kentucky, they want to get out in transition, but they also want to have a half-court game, get the ball down low, and really have good possessions down low. They're doing a nice job. Jody Meeks out for a month and a half, already 5 points in the first half, getting off to a good start for Kentucky.
You played in this building in your days as a Carolina Tar Heel fan, and it was loud then, pretty loud tonight.
It's pretty loud right now, and you know, the students are gone, and they've come back, and they really want a great win against a solid Kentucky team, and this will be a great win for Kentucky, struggling, but a solid win against a Houston team that is 9-1 in the season thus far.
Let's get you those starting lineups. You're a bit late in joining us for Kentucky. Bradley's coming off the 23-point game against UAB, along with Porter in the backcourt. Meeks is in there now, along with Corey and Crawford. For Houston, Lanning Smith runs the point, but Keever's averaging 20 points a game twice this year. He has hit 9 3-pointers in a contest. If he gets rolling, he could get 35 or 40 points. Dowell, a very athletic forward, and Nick Mosley is now in there at the center spot for Tom Penders' Houston Cougars. Houston, their only loss against VCU. And for the Wildcats, a 3-game losing skid. The troubling aspect of that defeat at the hands of UAB the other day, Hubert, they shot 53% from the floor. They made 12 out of 25 3-pointers. Those dozen threes is season high, and they still lost the game.
Yeah, that's discouraging. They had 20 assists also, but they had 18 turnovers in the second half. They weren't able to guard Robert Baden, the guy that had 28 points for UAB in the second half, and they didn't do a good job finding them in transition, also in a half-court set.
Gillespie making his first return to Texas since he left College Station, and Tom Penders has been here now 4 years at Houston. The 62-year-old head coach bidding for his 594th career win.
If you look at Houston defensively, really trying to put a lot of pressure on Ramel Bradley. He is the only primary ball handler for Kentucky. They want to tire him out.
Boy, Meeks slicing in with the foul as well, and he'll go to the line. Meeks a quick impact since Gillespie put him in the game.
Yeah, you can. He's had 1 3-pointer, and his ability to get into the lane doesn't have that much size, but he has the strength to get into the lane, create contact against a very versatile and athletic Dion Dow, and be able to get the bucket. And that timeout really helped Jody Meeks, who was asking to get out of the game. He was so fatigued, was able to catch his win, get back, and missed a free throw, but able to get a solid 2 points in the lane.
Yep, a new life for him. The foul on Dowell, and the fadeaway shot won't go by Robert McKeever. So far has not been a big factor offensively. Crawford on the baseline, swoops underneath. What a gorgeous shot by Joe Crawford, who came in averaging 17. Hubert, he was not even in the starting lineup. Initially, he wasn't going to do anything except come off the bench tonight. Patrick Patterson, because of an ankle problem, was a late scratch, and Crawford had to go in there as a member of the starting 5. And in 9 games, Gillespie has now used 8 different starting lineups. Porter nearly turned it over. Knocked into the backcourt. They will give it back. Malone dribbling through, and a reach-in foul with 13:20 to go. So you saw Patterson in the shoot-around, and everything was fine for the freshman out of Huntington, West Virginia earlier today.
Yeah, he looked fine in shoot-around, and this is a guy that could be a game-changer, particularly in this game where Houston doesn't have that much size. It's a guy that you can throw the ball to down low on the post, can dominate in the paint, right-hand jump hook, turn-around jump shot, can play at the high post. So he was a guy that Houston was going to double-team on catch, and that was going to open up wide-open shooters on the perimeter.
McKeever sealed at the foul line. Dion Dow all the way through the senior with a mammoth stuff. And a foul in the backcourt. But going back to the spectacular play by Dion Dow, just brought this place alive and then some.
Dion Dow, great penetration from Rob McKeever, and Dow, the transfer from Texas, gets into the lane with the left hand. Wow.
Little reminiscent of the man in the middle there, Clyde Drexler, a huge star from 1980 to 1983. Clyde says, come on, Clyde, that's how you used to do it.
Yes, it is, exactly.
Yeah. What a sensational player.
In college and in the NBA.
In the NBA as well. And still beloved here in Houston. Houston leading by 2. Dion Dow, similar in the style of game to another swingman in the NBA. Would you agree, Sean Marion?
Yeah, I call him the Matrix for the college. Can run the floor. Obviously has great size, athleticism, can finish into the lane. Unfortunately.
Reach-in foul by McKeever, his first, although he didn't think so. Back to Dowell, however.
Yeah, but this is a transfer from Texas. You see how he gets into the lane. Actually got contact. Looked like an and-one situation. Be able to switch hands and finish. And he can also shoot from three-point range. So you want to talk about guys having an opportunity to transfer to the next level. I look at Dion Dow having that opportunity because of his versatility.
Well, we talked to Tom Penders about what he's instituted here, a Phoenix Suns-style offense. A lot of penetration and kick stuff. It's working quite well from the corner. Meeks can't get that one to fall. Maybe we'll get a look at it here for Houston. Malone won't wait. He'll fire it up. And Marcus Malone, the cousin of Karl Malone. Oh, tremendous effort there on the baseline to try and save it by Malone. We're seeing some of the athleticism of this Houston Cougar team and why they are chosen to finish no worse than second in Conference USA behind Memphis.
Well, you look at Memphis. Obviously, they're the #1 favorite in Conference USA. Houston, UTEP, Southern Mississippi. Conference USA only got 1 bid in the NCAA tournament, UAB, last year, but I predict that they're going to get 2, maybe 3 bids this year.
Well, Kentucky feeding the big man underneath to get the basket off the window and tie this game at 16.
That's a big bonus. Jared Carter getting some extended playing time because of the injury of Patrick Patterson. Hasn't been getting any playing time over the last couple of weeks, but putting him in and getting a good points down low in the paint.
Then the hand check as he tried to hold up Dion Dowell and keep Dowell from embarrassing them again. Carter with the holding foul, just under 12 minutes to play here in the first half. Very entertaining thus far. Houston and Kentucky. It's a cat fight inside the Hopkins Pavilion in Houston, Texas.
Welcome to ESPN's Holiday Hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers.
You're watching Holiday Hoops on ESPN, presented by Kay Jewelers, and in Houston, Kentucky and the Cougars of Houston all tied up at 16. Dave O'Brien, Hubert Davis. Obviously, we want to send nothing but the best wishes and a speedy recovery to our great friend, Dick Vitale, had successful throat surgery earlier today. He'll be back on the air, and it won't be fast enough for most of us, but it's going to be sometime in February. But, Dick, get well. Your ESPN family and fans all around the country rooting for you to get back on the air where you belong. Dick Vitale, one of the all-time greats. And the last time that Dick and I worked together was in Lexington in Kentucky for the Carolina and Kentucky game, and he sounded great at that point, but he was fighting it a little bit. He's gotten that all taken care of. So our best to Dick and his family. A speedy recovery on the way.
I'm going to miss the T.O. babies, and they'll be back in February.
Yeah, the worst part about it, Dick has to do nothing but be quiet. He can't speak for 3 weeks. Is that going to be an impossibility?
He's online. He's online.
Here's Malone from 3. Just glancing off the iron. The rebound comes back to him. Another chance, but here's McKeever. Yes! And the foul on the 3. Fluff McKeever. Fouled by Porter, who picks up his second and will send him to the line to try and knock down a 4-point play.
Well, Kentucky defensively is doing a good job giving Marcus Malone the shot. They're able to get an offensive rebound and then penetration and kick, and Rob McKeever, his second 3-point shot of the game. And I said before, you cannot play this guy with regular defensive principles, meaning help and recover. He shoots the ball too well. Regardless of what penetration comes, you have to face guard him. He cannot touch the basketball. He has terrific range. He can put the ball on the floor, and you have to take his catches away.
Now the pressure from the Cougars. Don't get the backcourt turnover here. Meeks off to Bradley, and Kentucky will set it up. Traveling violation against the Wildcats. That'll be their 6th turnover already in the first half. So the Cougars' game plan working against Billy Gillespie so far.
Well, every time the ball is not in the hands of Ramel Bradley, it seems like they turn the ball over. We talked about he was the only ball handler for Kentucky. In UAB on Saturday, he played 40 minutes, only had 1 turnover. So this is the guy that needs to take care of the basketball, but it's hard when you have to do it all the time.
Payne, the freshman, lofts it up there, and that won't fall for him. Crawford on the baseline for the rebound. Talk about the lack of turnovers for the Houston Cougars, and that's really been the way of it for Penders over the years. His teams almost never cough it up. Crawford not there for him. Lewis with the rebound. Houston trying to beat Kentucky for the first time in their school history. McKeever blocked. Carter making an impact coming off the bench quickly for Gillespie. McKeever.
Jared Carter's done a nice job coming into the game, unexpectedly having to play. Was able to give him a quick 2 points on the offensive end, and defensively done a nice job keeping them in front of the middle and keeping Houston out of the lane. With his size, he can block shots and alter them as well.
McKeever 10 to shoot. On the baseline, down, blocked again, but a foul that time on Carter. Houston leading it by 4. Time now for a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update. Here's Carl Ravitch.
Hi, Dave. Thank you very much. On the same day, the union decides they will at least begin to open negotiations with Major League Baseball on a new drug policy. Roger Clemens says he never used HGH or steroids. Much more on his denial through his agent on ESPN.com as well as ESPN News. And also, FSU's Coach Bowden in trouble. 25 players to be suspended for academic cheating on an online course that will affect their bowl game and the first 3 games of next season. SportsCenter follows Kentucky at Houston. Back to you, Dave.
Rabbi, thank you very much. Kind of interesting to me that virtually everybody else in the Mitchell report who has been accused as, in one way or another, come clean, or a good many of them have anyway, Barry Bonds aside, but not Roger Clemens. Kentucky in the offensive zone. Bradley looking in. He barks out a play for the Wildcats. Shot clock down to 11. Porter on the wing. Meeks way outside. Shot clock at 5. He'll let fly, and he got it.
Jody Meeks has been absolutely fantastic. Houston did a terrific job defensively up against the shot clock, and they backed off of Jody Meeks, a guy that can really shoot from three-point range. They're playing man-to-man against him. That's a chance when they can throw the ball down to Patrick Patterson. They don't have him thus far here in the first half.
Bucky Payne, the talented freshman, could not hit his three. Dixon back out to Payne. And that'll be a violation as he carried it back to Meeks.
Well, you see Jody Meeks up against the shot clock, and looks like he's going to dribble penetrate, but he pulls up for the three against Nick Mosley. And you can see he's really excited about being back on the court. He's a guy that not only can play well, but he gives a lot of energy to this team. You can see they're feeding off of it. They're running the floor quicker. Defensively, they're getting in the passing lanes, and they look pretty good, except the turnovers here in the first half.
Meeks looked like a guy trying to kickstart his lungs after all that time off.
I wish I could take off for a month and a half and come out and
look like that.
Like that. I guess that's youth, huh?
He's into double figures. Crawford off the ball fake. He'll give it up. Meeks again. On target with a three. Boy, Jody Meeks just on fire. And Kentucky fans are going, Jody, where have you been? He has 13. The fadeaway shot by Dowell. Tipped right to Lewis in traffic and draws contact. Kevin Lewis, whose dad is an assistant coach here on the bench for Tom Penders. His dad, Kevin.
You know what's amazing for Jody Meeks? He already has 3 3-pointers here in the first half. You see the dribble penetration, drawing defenders, finding them out on the perimeter. It's when you're tired, the first thing that goes when you're fatigued is your legs. And when you're shooting a jump shot, it's all legs. His jump shot looks absolutely terrific. I know it's in the first half, but what a fabulous start for Kentucky and Jody Meeks here in the first half.
That's what you got to look at, though, is that meter, that gasoline meter. What's it going to be reading with about 14 minutes to go in the game?
Exactly, and you can tell with the jump shot, if it hits the front of the rim, right now he has beautiful rotation, nice arc. When he starts to get a little fatigue, that ball will hit that front rim, and you will know that he is tired.
Looks like he has the strength of 10 men right now, though, and he's keeping Kentucky right there with Houston. And a tough place to win on the road. The Cougars are 7-0 here this season, although against a very light schedule. Porter taking the baseline. Here's Meeks again. He got it! Another triple for Meeks. Got to be all adrenaline, doesn't it, at this point?
He doesn't feel anything right now.
Carter with the block. Back over to Houston. It goes with 8:15 to play here in the first half.
And what I like about Kentucky is they're looking for him. I mean, they are setting screens, dribble penetration. They're finding him out on the perimeter, and they're doing an excellent job of locating him. They know that he is the hot guy, and they're doing an outstanding job of finding him beyond the three-point line.
He hasn't played a game since the early days of November, and then lost to Gardner-Webb. He's missed every game since then. Here's Smith. Yes! A three-pointer for Lonnie Smith. Who's a candidate for the Bob Cousy Award given annually to the nation's best point guard, but he can hurt you with that shot as well. Bradley off to Crawford, has a lane to the basket.
Whoa!
And with the foul as well, Joe Crawford will go to the line. The personal on Smith, his first.
We're seeing a couple great dunks here, and this is what you need to do against a 1-3-1 press. Attack the basket. You see Joey Crawford and one going to the hoop.
Timeout on the court. Kentucky getting some big lifts from Crawford and from Jody Meeks. This time Crawford saw that open lane, pounded it in, and slammed it down for the Cats. Now the Stars coming out Houston style. T-Mac in the house. There are a lot of celebrities. Luther Head and Chuck Hayes here as well. And just one after another filling up the arena. The pavilion, as it were, one of those rare pavilions that are still left. And Clyde Drexler in the house, as mentioned, all suited and booted in style.
Looking good.
And the biggest star on the floor right now is Jody Meeks, who has hit 4 3-pointers. Crawford at the line. And Kentucky has taken a 1-point lead on the road at Houston. Meeks has been the story with 16 points in the last 7.5 minutes. Whistle and the foul underneath. And this one is going to go against Kentucky. College basketball continues on ESPN Thursday night. A Big East ACC showdown as Sam Young and number 9 Pitt take on number 7 Duke and the Blue Devils, led by the freshman Kyle Singler from Madison Square Garden in New York City. College basketball, part of Holiday Hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers on ESPN Thursday night at 7 Eastern. Dowell rattles in the first free throw. He is at 88% at the line. If it does come down to it in the end, Hubert, two very good foul shooting teams. Houston, as a group, shoots 76%.
Yeah, but one of the things you look at Kentucky here early in the first half, they've struggled with rebounding the basketball. I mean, they're shooting over 60% from the field, from three-point range, and they're down by 1 point. They've already given up 8 offensive rebounds. If they just can block out and limit Houston to 1 shot per possession, they could be up by double digits here in the first half.
Bradley sealed, and he steps on the baseline, and he turns it over. Smith and Mukari doing good work there to double him up and force the turnover.
Again, and that's 7 turnovers for Kentucky, and we've talked about the struggles all year, taking care of the basketball.
Smith with the kick out. That jump shot will fall by Kevin Lewis.
And that's a stat where points off of turnovers. In the last 3 games, teams have gotten 24 points off of turnovers for Kentucky. So turnover there leads to a wide open 3-pointer for Houston.
Nearly picked off on a nice effort by McKeever. As we give you a look at StatTrack, Houston leading it by 4 here inside 7 minutes to play in the first half. Kentucky 11 out of 17, and again 4 3-pointers already by Meeks. His career high in points is 18. He's already at 16. Got all those second chance points. That is amazing. Carter, his shot harassed, nearly blocked. McCurry comes away with it. Here come the Cougars. Smith slants in. Crawford rejects it, and he kept it in play as well to Bradley. Bradley with the lob inside. The big man Carter will stuff it in.
And that's what Jared Carter can do. He can run the floor, and he does a nice job of running right underneath the basket. He knows with his sides, it's hard to defend him. They just have to throw it up top, and he's able to get the easy dunk.
Boy, the pace you'd have to think certainly is suiting Houston at this point, though, Hubert. They want this game as high as they can get it. If it's into the 80s, they feel like they can wear Kentucky down.
Well, that's where the game they want to be. And, you know, you have to look at the percentages. Kentucky shooting over 60%. They have to feel good that at some point they are going to cool off. And if you're going to lead open, wide open jump shooters like Dion Dow, it's going to be tough to beat this team here at home.
Dion Dow with a fadeaway 3 out of the corner. Meeks in the den. A little push, a little shove, and a little foul, and they're really keying on Meeks on both sides. Kentucky wants to get him the ball in the worst way, and Houston tried to hammer him there. And again, Houston scores a lot of points, and in their 4 losses, Kentucky has been giving up a lot of points.
Well, something has to give. We talked about Houston wanting to get up and down, a high-scoring team, scoring almost 80 points a game, and you can see Kentucky's success when they block in defensively and hold teams to under 70 points. So look at Houston right now, 35 points already. It's looking pretty good. They're going to get the game that they want.
Meeks with that first free throw. Gillespie, even though he saw Meeks was winded, obviously he realized, I've got to keep him in the game. He will make it happen if he gets his wind back, and that played out.
Yeah, he really did, and there was a key timeout that really was able to get through that first win. He was able to come back in and knock down a couple more three-pointers. So right now, he's built on adrenaline. He's going to go into halftime and regroup. But a wonderful start. Without him, I don't know where Kentucky would be.
He's going to go to halftime and collapse, at least for a few minutes. Payne outside, one of the outstanding freshmen. Long shot, not there for Lewis. Carter will outlet quickly. Crawford wants to attack. And that'll be a foul against Houston. And number 32, Brock Payne, the freshman. He'll pick up his second foul. 35-31 Houston.
And see, this is where I think Houston makes a mistake. They're a great three-point shooting team, but they bail Kentucky out by shooting quick three-pointer. At the beginning of the game, they were able to pressure them, get into the lane, dribble penetration. Kentucky's only playing 7 guys. If you get any one of these guys into foul trouble, they have to go deep into their bench. They have to have a mixture of open jump shots and getting into the lane.
Look at Crawford, one of Tubby Smith's guys. The senior out of Detroit. Again, he was not in the original starting lineup for Gillespie. In the loss to UAB on Saturday, he had 16 points in that game in Louisville. He knocks down the foul shot. Patrick Patterson, the freshman, who's averaging 16 points, 8 rebounds, still sitting because of that ankle injury from what we were told. It got him scratched from the lineup. Here's Payne, long range, and off the back iron. On the outlet, Meeks slipped and fell. Bradley wanted to target him to go right to the goal, but Meeks lost his footing.
And you look at the injuries to Kentucky. Jody Meeks comes back, but they're without their starting point guard, Derek Jasper, and then Patrick Patterson, who looked healthy at shoot-around today with the ankle injury, not being able to play here in the first half is really hurt Kentucky offensively.
Meeks with an air ball, maybe showing some signs of fatigue finally after what has been a brilliant first half. Lewis tried to spin, knocked out of bounds, and that's going to be off of him. He lost control of it. So a rare turnover for the Cougars, who almost never commit a traveling violation, almost never a palming violation, but they've had a couple here in the first half. Back to Meeks now, who's been amazing.
Well, it's been the Jody Meeks show here in the first half. You see him right when he gets into the game, dribble penetration, been able to get into the lane, and then knocking down three-point jump shots. They've been trying to find him, setting picks, dribble penetration, finding him on the wing, and for a guy that's been out for a month and a half, his rhythm offensively looks absolutely terrific.
Guess everybody ought to take a month and a half off early in the season if these are going to be the results. Houston leading by 2. Crawford leans in. It won't roll, and then he compounded that by jumping in and committing the foul. So 4 minutes left in the first half. Foul number 2 on Joe Crawford.
And this is one of the reasons why why you want to drive the basketball and put a lot of pressure defensively so you can get to the free throw line, because they're such a great free throw shooting team.
So into the bonus, and McKeever to go to the line. He is an 85% foul shooter. Really the main reason Houston is off to its best start since 1991-92. Though they have played a light non-conference schedule, to be sure, and primarily at home, where they have gone 7-0. Most of their wins have come against overmatched opponents like Charleston and Morehead State, Grambling State, and Southern.
Well, I mean, he's an outstanding shooter. He already has 2 3-pointers here in the first half, but he's not just a standstill shooter. He can get into the lane, he can create. Hasn't been able to show that in this game tonight. He can also play the point guard position, because you look at his stats, he's averaging 20 points a game, but he averaged that last year when Lanny Smith, the starting point guard, was out with the injury. So a versatile guard that can really get hot from the perimeter.
Has 9 points tonight, averaging 20. Meeks almost lost his dribble and then out of bounds with the errant pass. 3:53 left here in the first half, and a timeout on the court. So he was coming at Houston with a full head of steam, but now starting to slip just a little bit for Jody Meeks. Shabby, thank you very much. When Coach Lavin explains, I always listen. Houston leading at 37-33 over Kentucky. So, Hubert, when you think about the legacy of Kentucky basketball, it's incredible. Just one man's opinion. Actually, this was like 7 of us. But how about Kentucky? Pick an all-time list.
Where's Cal Macy?
All right, that's true. But Jamal Mashburn, Antoine Walker, Dan Issel, Sam Boyd. But if you were just to look at the Houston program, how about their all-time list? And I
got that 5.
You want that 5?
I want that 5.
See what I mean?
I don't mean any disrespect to Kentucky fans, and they've had terrific teams, but there's Michael Young, one of the parts of Phi Slamma Jamma.
What a group.
A team that went to 2 finals. Lost to NC State and to a great Georgetown team.
He's going to be up in the rafters at halftime. They have a ceremony for Young here in Houston.
And that's a starting 5 that I would take in college, NBA, in the Olympics.
Not too shabby. Payne is there for the 3. Rocky Payne, the freshman out of Dallas. Talk about second chance points now. A whopping 21-zip advantage for the Cougars. One second effort after another they're cashing in on.
And you think, okay, because they don't have Patrick Patterson, they're struggling with rebounding, but these are from the guards. Houston is a small team. It talks about everybody boxing out, limiting Houston to 1 shot per possession. Haven't done a good job of that here in the first half.
Cougars with their biggest lead of the night, up to 7. Shot clock at 9. Porter took a glance. Crawford trying to get in the paint, bumps, and a foul on that play with only 5 seconds left to shoot. Man, do we have a Saturday coming your way. A Saturday to remember. On December 22nd, you're going to be in front of the television all day long, starting at noon. Georgetown and Memphis, that's 4 against 2. Tennessee and Xavier at 2 o'clock, 12 against 24. Number 25, Stanford taking on Texas Tech, followed by that dandy against Texas and Michigan State, 2 teams in the top 10. And then we top it off with Illinois against Missouri at 8:30. Oftentimes it's the game, and you and I were talking about this a few moments ago during the break, where you don't have the 2 ranked teams. That becomes the game of the day or the night. Well, this one's kind of turning into it.
When you look at those matchups this Saturday, Georgetown, no one's really talking about them as being a number 1 team in the country. It's been UCLA, Memphis, North Carolina, but this is a team that had Roy Hibbert coming back, one of the underrated point guards, and Jonathan Wallace, and went to the Final Four last year. So their first test of the year, they played a good Alabama team in the Big East SEC Challenge, but what a wonderful game that's going to be against Memphis this Saturday.
Lanny Smith fouled Crawford to put him at the line. Dow's there off the miss. Houston will not wait around. If they have an open 3, they will jack it. Smith started the game with 2 very impressive spin drives. There's Dowell again. Long range from the wing. Timeout, Gillespie and Kentucky. Because Houston has opened up a 10-point lead, and the Kentucky coach is not in the holiday spirit. 2:24 left here in the first half. Houston up by 10. Houston Cougars trying to go to 10-1 on the season. Kentucky in danger of dropping to 4-5. Let's go back to that last play.
Well, this is one of the reasons why Kentucky is down by 10 points. You see, because they're playing a small lineup in a pick-and-roll situation, they are supposed to switch. There was confusion there, left open a wide-open Deion Dowell on the perimeter, and he hits another 3-point shot here in the first half. And you look at those type of mistakes, and you look at the turnovers, 8 turnovers here in the first half, and then 8 second-chance points for Houston. That's the game right there for Kentucky.
Houston has taken more 3-point shots, 17, and they have 2-point shots, 13. And 5 players who have already hit at least 1 3-pointer.
And it put so much pressure offensively on Kentucky. They're shooting over 50% from the field and down by 10.
Houston on an 8-0 run. Meeks trying to stop that, left it short. That's starting to happen now. Stewart on the baseline got blocked and then stripped finally by McKeever. And he steals it away for the Cougars. McKeever swoops it up and in, blocked by Stevenson. Payne will set it up now for Houston. 0-3 all-time against Kentucky.
Houston's been doing a nice job shooting from the perimeter, but remember, they're in the penalty right now. They don't have to shoot a contested three. They can get into the lane and get to the free throw line.
It's Dowell again, short this time, and Stewart collects the rebound. Bradley, another guy who has to get cooking the way he did against UAB if they're going to cut into this lead, which is up to 10.
Yeah, he played well against UAB. He had 23 points, was able to knock down from three-point range. Only one turnover in 40 minutes, but it's been a Jody Meek show offensively for Kentucky here in the first half.
There's Bradley, not there for him. Boy, Dowell having a very lively first half. Tom Penders was raving about his athleticism during their practice timeout for Houston. 56 seconds before halftime. He takes a quick timeout. Holiday Hoops presented by Kay Jewelers on ESPN, ESPN2 Saturday. Two great games at noon. Roy Hibbert, you talked about Georgetown taking on number 2 Memphis. And then at 6:30 on ESPN2, number 5 Texas will be in a battle against Michigan State, the number 10 ranked team in the clash. The teams remaining undefeated as of right now. Kansas at 11-0. How about Sam Houston State at 9-0?
9-0, beating Texas Tech. Clemson again getting off to a nice fast start. Pittsburgh and Duke will be playing on Thursday. Two undefeated teams. What a great matchup that's going to be at Madison Square Garden.
We got a long look at DeJuan Blair over the weekend, a terrific freshman. Stop me if you've heard that so far here in 2007. Yet another terrific freshman. Every time you turn around, you bump into another one, but at only 6'7", he plays like a 7-footer.
Yeah, he does. When you look at when they had Aaron Gray, they did have a guy that could throw the ball down low on a post, but they were more of a half-court team. Now with DeJuan Blair, yeah, he can get points at the paint, but he can really run the floor, and it's really opened up Pittsburgh offensively.
Dave O'Brien, Hubert Davis with you. Kentucky in a drought without a field goal in 5.5 minutes. 48 seconds before the break. Payne working on Stewart. Off the bump. Floats it. Can't get it. Meeks is there for the rebound for the Wildcats. Now a scramble. Another cat fight on the deck. Look at that give to McKeever. Yes! Malone won the battle on the floor. Made a terrific pass. And it's a 12-point lead for Houston. They're on a 10-0 run. Boy, this place has gotten awfully loud. Stewart, throw it away. 10 seconds before the half. For Gillespie and Kentucky, it cannot come quickly enough.
Well, you've got some guys that haven't really had a lot of playing time. You have A.J. Stewart out there, Perry Stevenson, with all that pressure of Houston, really forcing a lot of turnovers. See what Houston does in this last possession.
With the last 5 minutes, it's come unraveled for the Cats. McKeever firing that one up as a shot clock went down. As Lewis. That would have counted had it gone. But certainly a lot went right for the Cougars, and they lead it at halftime 45-33. Back to the play of the first 20 minutes.
Well, I mean, you look at Kentucky getting the basketball, doing a nice job defensively, but another turnover, being able to get out into the open court, and Houston has done a terrific job of getting turnovers and then executing on the offensive end. And this has plagued Kentucky throughout the whole season, not being able to take care of the basketball. And when you're on the road, you have to limit your turnovers, especially against a high-scoring team of Houston.
Gillespie's team on a pace to turn it over 22 times in this one. At halftime, Houston leads at 45-33. Now to Carl Ravitch in the studio for the Kay Jewelers halftime report. Just about ready for the second half. Kentucky and Houston, and the Cougars leading by 12 points, all part of Holiday Hoops presented by Kay Jewelers. And during the intermission, the Cougars honored one of their all-time greats, Michael Young, by retiring his number 42 here inside Hofheinz Pavilion.
This might be Mr. Phi Slamma Jamma. Right here. Michael Young. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look right up here. Number 42, Michael Young. One of our all-time greats. Michael,
The Houston Cougars, a very emotional moment for Michael Young. And the current day guys are doing a pretty good impression of Phi Slama Jama from time to time in the first half. Kentucky, on the other hand, Hubert, shooting 52% in the first half, and yet they're down by 12 points. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, offensively, they've been fine. They've been able to shoot the basketball, especially Jody Meeks. He has 17 points in the first half, but it comes off of turnovers. They have 11 turnovers in the first half and giving up 11 offensive rebounds. And, you know, the two big guys for Houston, Dion Dowell and Rob McKeever, have combined for 23 points. Lanny Smith at the point guard position has done an outstanding job. 7 points and 6 assists, and doesn't have 1 turnover here in the first half.
Porter will launch the jump shot and knock it down, and a good start for Kentucky in the second half. Their first field goal in 6 minutes and 39 seconds.
Well, they can shoot the ball. They've been shooting the ball very well over the last 2 games. But it's been about turning the ball over. It's been about boxing out, limiting Houston to 1 shot per possession. And you can see Meeks, I mean, he was unbelievable coming in after a month and a half off, came in off the bench and knocked down 3-point shots, able to get into the lane.
Timeout. Houston quickly, as the second half has just started. Benders already sees something he doesn't like. Back in a moment. This one all about hustle so far for Houston.
Well, when you look at Houston, they're up by 9 points, and they can really shoot the basketball, but it's because of effort. They've been playing harder. They've been getting to loose balls. They already have 11 offensive rebounds. They've been getting into the passing lane, creating 11 turnovers in the first half against a Kentucky team all year that has struggled in terms of taking care of the basketball and then converting it into points. And Rob McKeever has been a guy, their leading scorer, has 11 points here in this game, and he's been one of the guys that has been able to score off those turnovers that Kentucky has on offensive end.
And that play at the end of the half, Marcus Malone digging it out, the nice feed to McKeever to knock down the 3. That one really typified the hustle of the Cougars in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the things for Kentucky to limit not only turnovers but also deflections from their opponents is they need to come towards the basketball. You see a lot of time in their backdoor play.
Oh, and it's going to roll in. Oh, wait a minute. They're going to say no basket. An offensive foul. Gillespie all grins, but he's not laughing. Apoplectic. That's 3 now on Crawford. What do you think?
Well, I mean, it's a beautiful backdoor play, and looked like Crawford got to the basket before the guy slipped in, and would have been a great and-one situation to start off the second half.
Take a closer look at that in a moment as Dowell feeds underneath to Tony. Tony drawing contact. Back to that play. You be the judge.
Yeah, here's Kentucky's last possession. Good backdoor play by Crawford, and looks like Dion Dowell comes over and does a nice job trying to get the charge in that situation. Maybe Crawford could have stopped one more step before and had a nice 5-10-foot jump shot.
Yep, retrospect, I think they got it right. Corey picks up his first foul, and Tony to the line. Tafari Tony is 6'8" senior out of Brooklyn. 73% at the foul line. As mentioned, Houston a little bit better than that. They're at 75%. And Kentucky at 76%.
Well, they did a nice job in the first half getting to the free throw line. I thought they could have done that a little bit more. Sometimes they get too happy with shooting that contested 3-point shot. They had 13 attempts in the first half. You see Jody Meeks, he was the offense for Kentucky. 17 points after missing a month and a half, coming in, playing up and down the floor and being able to knock down his perimeter jump shot. But Houston doing a nice job early in the second half trying to get to the free throw line.
Meeks scored those 17 points in a span of 9 minutes. He absolutely sizzled. Porter drags the foot and travels.
And that's not the answer at the point guard position for Michael Porter. He's a terrific player, does a nice job knocking down 3-point shots. But we've talked before, the dilemma with Kentucky is they only have one primary ball handler, and that's Ramel Bradley. Every time they put the ball in somebody else's hands, that's what it looks like when a turnover occurs.
So Porter will step out. 4 turnovers for him out of the 13 Kentucky has been pinned with. Let's see if McKeever really heats up in the second half. Smith airborne. Oh, Bradley knocked it out of his hands. Good defensive stop there by Ramel Bradley, the senior out of New York. Well, if he scores 40 tonight, we'll get to 1,000 career points.
You can look at Ramel Bradley having an up-and-down season. A talented point guard, struggled against Indiana. Looked like he had a career day against UAB on Saturday, and tonight really hasn't been able to get into the offense. Has 0 points here in the game.
It's been a rough start for Gillespie, but still working on those officials. Tony Green, Doug Schaus, and Patrick Adams. Bradley. Outside that three-point line. He hit 5 of those against UAB. Bradley got airborne. Here's Harris for a long-distance shot. Too strong. McKeever. Yes, that's the 3. And he's the kind of shooter. One like that could lead to a string of them and a long night for Kentucky.
Yeah, Ken, already this season on 2 different occasions, he's knocked down 9 3-point attempts in a game. And this is a guy that not only can catch and shoot, he can, as you saw, he can shoot off the dribble, he can get into the lane, a wonderful offensive player.
Remember, Vaden had that huge second half for UAB at 28 as he just lit them up time and time again. Meeks jumps, shoots, and it's blocked. Dow got a hand on it. Also a whistle and a foul. Dow can't believe it. Anakin Penders, number 1 on Dion Dowell. Penders didn't think he should have been hit with it. Boy, what a great look, huh? From a very, very successful head coach. 8 times he took Texas to the NCAA tournament. And trying to get another entry from the Lone Star State into March Madness. And Tom Penders thinks that this team will this year. Oh, my world is coming apart.
I don't think he agrees with that call.
No.
What an easy transition point when they got the rebound.
Perry Stevenson, a 6'9" sophomore, to come on now for the Wildcats. It's a 12-point lead, exactly as it was at halftime for Houston. McKeever mishandled the exchange, hit the deck, now battling for it. And a tie-up on the floor here at Hofheinz Pavilion. It'll stay on his end.
And Dave, those are their effort plays right there. The ball was on the floor. Who got to it first? Houston was the first team on the floor. It was right by Ramel Bradley. All they had to do was get on the floor first and get the possession. Now they got a jump ball situation and gives Houston another chance to score.
Going to take a lot more effort from the Wildcats tonight to avoid their first 4-game losing streak since 1989-90. You're talking about 18 years ago. Smith flips it up, not there for him. Tony up and takes it right back. Another effort here now for the Cougars. Keever airborne. Smith into the paint. Another effort for Tony. This one goes.
And that's 2 second chance points on that possession, allowed Tafari Tony to get an easy 2 down low in the paint. It's 13 offensive rebounds for Houston in the game.
We've talked all night about second chance points. How about third, fourth, fifth chance points for the Cougars? But on second chance points, they lead 23-zip. Crawford straight away. Another misfire for the Wildcats. That is an astounding number. That's all about effort. Tony off the fake, and it's blocked away by Stevenson. He is an outstanding young shot blocker. We have a timeout on the court, just under 16 minutes to go here in the contest. Houston opening up a 51-37 lead. Kentucky is in trouble again. Carl Roberts, thank you very much. Here in Houston, Tracy McGrady wearing that Yankee cap. But the Houston Rockets guard watching the college boys. I wonder if Yao's place is one of the places that T-Mac might frequent, maybe after tonight's game. Yao Ming with his own restaurant and bar, which does a very brisk business. Is that where you got Rezzies after
Well,
this?
are we going to dinner there after the game?
Well, T-Mac would know, because he's the guy to talk to.
I'm glad that Yao Ming stretched himself in terms of naming his restaurant.
Just an awful pun. 51-37.
My restaurant's opening. It's called Hubert.
Keep it simple. Bradley out high now for the Wildcats, who are in need of a run of their own now. Bradley slithering inside, may have forced it. Carter with the follow. Boy, the second chance point's not there for the Cats. They certainly are for the Cougars. Trying for their 8th consecutive win. Only one loss for Houston. That came in Puerto Rico at the Tip-Off Classic to Virginia Commonwealth. Keever can't get that one on the lane, but there's Tony to follow. He's been relentless since halftime.
Yeah, another second chance points. Jared Carter didn't box him out. And Tafari Tony doesn't have a lot of size, but he's doing an excellent job of keeping the ball alive and getting offensive points off of offensive rebounds here in the second half.
Biggest lead of the night for Houston. Crawford trying to silence the crowd. Rebounded by Tony. He's everywhere. He's on both ends.
He is. And, you know, we talked about Jody Meeks. When was he going to start to look tired? Okay, in the first half, looked like he had a lot of energy. You see Kentucky get out into the fast break.
Crawford with Lewis fouling him and sending Crawford to the line.
It's a beautiful move by Joey Crawford, being able to have that strength to get contact, get into the lane. It's one of their few transition points. Be able to create a turnover, and his ability to go from one side of the court to the other and be able to get the possible three-point play. If you talk about Jody Meeks in the first half, he looked like his wind was fine, his jump shot was flowing, he was searching for a shot. He's only taken one shot attempt here in the second half, and he got fouled and go to the free throw line, only made one free throw from that point.
And Kentucky really starting to miss the presence of Patrick Patterson, the 6'8" freshman. We were told just moments before tonight's tip that it was an ankle problem, something that had him limping just a little bit after the shoot-around, but he was in the original starting lineup in a very late scratch by Gillespie. Tony will follow, draws the contact into the line, and look at that reaction. Tafari Tony lighting up Houston tonight. He has this crowd roaring.
Well, I mean, you look at Tafari Tony, he's been huge here in the second half, filling in the starting lineup for Marcus Couzon, and look at him looking for the offensive rebound. Nobody blocking him out, but he keeps the ball alive. His second jump gets up into the lane. It's his third offensive rebound here early in the second half, and just doing an excellent job of giving them extra possessions.
He has 7 points and 6 rebounds. Corey back on. Kentucky in serious jeopardy of losing their 4th consecutive game.
You know, we talked about Patrick Patterson and what he gives them on the offensive end. Defensively, in terms of rebounding, they really miss him almost 10 rebounds a game as well.
Bradley will fire up the 3. Houston looking to build on a 16-point lead. Smith, who missed 18 months himself with a fractured foot.
Whoa.
Boy, he went down hard. He got up very quickly, though. Lanny Smith with a quick move to the basket, the senior out of Missouri City, Texas. Here's what they are missing now, the freshman comparison to O.J. Mayo. And of course, his high school buddy. They were teammates in Huntington, West Virginia in high school.
Yeah, but look what he shoots from the field, 67%. So he can you can throw the ball down low on the paint, and you're either going to get to the free throw line or he's going to make a field goal. So in tough situations right now, offensively, where do they go? Jody Meeks seems fatigued here in the second half. They don't have an option for somebody to step up on the offensive end.
Meeks just picked up his first foul of the game to send Smith to the line. Look at his numbers, only 1 turnover, 6 assists. He had 2 out of 9 from the field, but he has scored 8 points. In and out with that foul shot, but he's run the offense very effectively, very smoothly.
Yeah, Coach Pender's talked about a shoot-around that he's starting to find his legs. This is a guy that averaged 12 points and 4 assists 2 years ago, only played 4 games last year because of a broken foot, now starting to play, and you can see why he's so valuable.
Porter nearly traveled again. He's already turned it over 4 times. Meeks with the misfire.
You can see him hitting the front rim. All about shooting is in the legs. He's been out for a month and a half. The first thing that goes is that jump shot.
Tony says, why not from the corner, but not there with a three-pointer. Kentucky in transition, and the foul against Houston as Meeks went airborne. So far tonight, the Kentucky Wildcats have turned it over 13 times, Houston 8 times. Meeks to shoot here. It's 17 first half points.
Well, I mean, you look at Kentucky, obviously this year, having a new coach, new coaching style, philosophy, a team in transition. You look at Meeks and Crawford basically being the offense for this team. And you look at their schedule, they played a really tough non-conference schedule. UNC, Indiana, UAB, now Houston. They still have to play Louisville, but it doesn't get any easier. You start conference season now, and their first 4 conference games, starting off at home against Vanderbilt, they're undefeated. Then they go on the road, Mississippi State, always hard to win a game in Starkville, and then at Florida, 2-time national champions, but they still 10-1, and then they come back home to play a Tennessee team that at the beginning of the season, everyone had them in the top 5.
Here's Dowell open for 3. Yes! He turned and shouted into the stands. We are rolling 60-41. Well, with Dowell shooting like this, as good as McKeever is and Lanny Smith, and a nice freshman class, this looks like a top 25 team to me. The Houston Cougars right now on the outside of that looking in, but a win tonight puts them at 10-1, and they're going to be knocking on that top 25 door. Timeout, Kentucky. Houston leading at 60-41, and Dowell is looking fine in that corner.
Yeah, I tell you, that's one of the most versatile players. You can see Clyde Drexler liking what he sees from Dion Dowell, probably seeing a little bit of himself in Dion Dowell, an athletic 6'6", small forward that can take it to the hole, shoot 3-pointers, rebound.
And also cut a rug. No question about it. Holiday Hoops presented by Kay Jewelers on ESPN and ESPN2 on Saturday, noontime. Roy Hibbert leading number 4 Georgetown against number 2 Memphis. A lot of folks think Memphis ought to be number 1. And then at 6:30 on ESPN2, number 5 Texas. An outstanding backcourt taking on number 10 Michigan State. And the Spartans, the state of Texas, doing just fine, thank you, in the early going of the college basketball campaign, led by the Longhorns at 11-0.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You look at Texas losing Kevin Durant, DJ Augustine playing extremely well. You got Texas A&M, Baylor in Big 12 play. Now you have Houston and UTEP. Stephen F. Austin is playing extremely well. Sam Houston State is undefeated. Texas Arlington playing extremely well. And then you got T-Mac here, the Houston Rockets, and you want to throw in the San Antonio Spurs, defending NBA champions. This might be the place to play basketball.
Life is good for hoops. Malone flips it up and draws the foul. I think they may have gotten A.J. Stewart with that personal. Everything's certainly going right for the Houston Cougars of Tom Penders. And the game plan was to force lots of turnovers, to force the tempo, to run it right down the Wildcats' throats. And they have been a relentless bunch tonight in building up a 60-41 lead. Make it 20.
Well, Houston offensively wanted to get up and down the floor. They wanted to make this a fast-paced game. They already have 61 points right here. And we talked about the one stat for Kentucky. In their 4 wins, they've held teams under 70. In their 4 losses, teams have scored over 70. So in terms of getting their tempo, and in large part because Patrick Patterson's not here. He's a guy they can throw the ball into the paint and be successful in the half court. But the second chance points has really hurt Kentucky tonight.
Malone, the senior out of Compton, California, in and out. Meeks battling for the rebound. The Cougars last year were 18-15. They wound up in 3rd place in Conference USA, just missing out on any postseason bids. They intend for that not to happen again this spring. They want desperately to go to the NCAA tournament. They have not been since 1992. Swooping underneath Crawford. Rebound is tipped back out to Kentucky. Porter took a tumble in midcourt, got back up quickly. Meeks on the drive with some contact, lays it in, so he's back at it. Those are Kentucky's second chance points tonight, Huber. That's incredible.
And that's been the key for Houston, attacking the offensive boards. Tafari Toney, 3 offensive rebounds here in the second half. So in order to get back into this basketball game, it's not about offense for Kentucky. It's defensively.
Marcus Malone from the corner with a 3. The lead is up to 21. And boy, are the Cougars feeling it now on both ends of the floor. McKeever ahead to Malone. And that's going to be an intentional foul. A hard foul indeed. And it flares up a little bit. Crawford being led away. Technical foul and the shots. And Crawford trying to get a little life into the Kentucky Wildcats, went a little too far. We're going to take a break here as well. The technical on Crawford. And now the explanation for Penders. Malone apparently all right. 64-43 Houston shooting the technicals when we come back. As Malone was able to bounce back up after the intentional by Crawford. Time now for Game Track presented by PlayStation 3. Kentucky trailing here 64-43. Dowell has been on fire since the halftime. 15 points and 7 rebounds for Dion Dowell.
Yeah, you look at Houston, I mean, they've been shooting the ball well from three-point range, getting after it defensively, creating turnovers, getting into the open court, and this is exactly the game that they wanted. Up and down, fast-paced, creating turnovers, shooting three-pointers, getting to the free throw line, and right now it may be getting out of hand. Kentucky getting frustrated. A hard foul on Marcus Malone going to the hole, and
so Malone to shoot, rolls in the first.
Joey Crawford trying to get back in transition. I have no problem with the hard foul. Have no problem with trying to take away the layup. And when you get a hard foul while a guy's in the air, you can really injure somebody for the rest of the season.
So the ball back as well here for Houston. Just under 11 minutes to play. Dowell again. Kentucky with the board. The Wildcats with time. But Houston has won the effort battle tonight. Porter again with a slip and a travel. He's had a hard time with that tonight.
Yeah, it really has. They're putting a lot of pressure on him and turned them into turnovers. And every time he has the ball in his hands, they've been able to trap him and force him to make him plays that he really doesn't feel comfortable making.
6 turnovers for him, 66-43. Lanning Smith picking over at Tom Penders, asking for a play here. And Houston in total control of this one at the moment. Foul away from the basketball. And Kentucky piling up the personals here. That one will go on Mark Corey, his second. And Kentucky with the very real possibility of being 4-5 coming out of Houston. Hubert Davis, what are the things they have to do to right the ship in Lexington?
Well, first they have to get healthy. Patrick Patterson has to be on the floor. Derek Jasper. And people don't understand, even now they lost Alex Legion in the last couple weeks. Even a guy, Randolph Morrison, a guy that was consistent down low in the paint, he could have come back for his senior year. He decided to go to the NBA. So they have to get healthy. And then they need help at the point guard position in terms of taking care of the basketball. But it's been effort points here tonight. I don't know what you can do. You can't teach that. Either a team's going to dive on the floor, take care of the basketball, and be the first to loose balls. that's on them.
Another whistle and the foul to go against Houston. But the former Cats in the NBA under Tubby Smith. And when you start to look back at the Tubby Smith era, and just last year, 22 wins and into the second round of the NCAA tournament, for this team to get that far, they would have to take an amazing run at this point should they lose their 5th game of the season tonight.
We talked about their non-conference schedule. We talked about their injuries. So you put into play those 2 factors, and then here Joey Crawford hits another 3-pointer for Kentucky. Bringing in a whole new coaching staff and philosophy, it's a tough transition.
Crawford with 15 points. Chuck Hayes, one of those guys who's here tonight trying to root on the Cats. Dowell trying to work on Curry. Got through. Tough angle. He was going to shoot it no matter what. 68-46 Houston. Curry will let fly. Yes. Mark Curry, the sophomore, with the bucket. Hayes, one of those in Kentucky blue, looking a little forlorn though tonight.
Yeah, and you look at Kalina Azubuike starting for the Golden State Warriors, for Don Nelson, Chuck Hayes, a starter for a Houston Rocket team that has a chance to come out of the West. Rajon Rondo playing extremely well in the starting effort with the Boston Celtics, who are playing unbelievable basketball with Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen and Paul Pierce and Randolph Morris. As I said, he could have come back for his senior year, decided to go for the New York Knicks, and he's getting limited playing time for the New York Knickerbockers.
Celtics on ESPN coming up on Friday. It's a look that says a lot right now from the Kentucky side of things.
Well, they've never been in this situation before, down by 20 points here. They're used to winning, the all-time winningest program in college basketball history. So being down by 20 is an unfamiliar situation for guys like Chuck Hayes.
Yeah, so it's a 4-game losing streak, which is on the way to happening right now, barring a miracle comeback for the Wildcats. It's been 18 years since they last lost 4 consecutive games. Smith directing traffic. 17 on the shot clock for Houston. Smith into the corner. Here's Malone. Yes, a 3.
Lanny Smith has done an excellent job getting into the middle. He's such a good passer. He's able to find guys out on the perimeter. It's the second 3 in the second half for Marcus Malone, and just taking care of the basketball. 1 turnover here in this game for Lanny Smith.
71-48 Houston. Off the backdoor cut, Meeks had it knocked away from him on the baseline. Now another scramble for it on the deck. Porter really fighting hard and tied up. And now a technical foul on Gillespie outside the coach's box. He was hopping mad.
Everybody's frustrated in this situation. It felt like Michael Porter, and now Jody Meeks, who was out a month and a half, looks like he's injured out there on the floor. He was one of the first guys to go for the loose ball.
Meeks with 21 points, a career high. Here's the scramble.
He was calling for Marcus Malone, who was on top of Michael Porter to get the foul. They were able to get the jump ball situation, so it was going towards Kentucky, but you can see Coach Gillespie definitely
he said,
out of the coaching box.
He said, go ahead, call it. That's what he said.
He's helping the refs. They don't take too kind to that.
So McKeever, 85% at the foul line. Meanwhile, Meeks has to almost be helped to the bench. Back for the first time into a game for Kentucky in about 6 weeks. And he was a marvel in the first half, scoring 17 points over a 9-minute span. Meeks went down pretty hard here. Take a look. It's on this effort.
Yeah, you talk about the previous injury, and the last thing you want to do is fall on your side, but it looks like cramps. Looks like they're trying to get cramps out of the legs, and we talked about the fatigue. He's only scored 4 points, so it's 17 points in the first half, only 4 in the second half, but he's only taken 2 shot attempts, so you can tell he's pretty tired.
72-48. Kentucky taking it on a chin here in the second half with a little more than 8 minutes to play. And looking more and more as if the Wildcats are going to be 4-5 as we close in on Christmas. Stolen away by Malone and his quick hands. He is a superb and quick defender. He's also done some scoring here in the second half with 9 points.
And now Kentucky in a man-to-man. They have Jared Carter on Lanny Smith out on the perimeter. If we look for Smith to penetrate it, you see Kentucky noticing that.
Malone swings for Smith. He'll penetrate. 5 seconds on the shot clock. Now 3. Malone had to force it up. That'll be a shot clock violation. It never reached the rim. So 7:37 to play. Beautiful balmy night here in Houston, Texas. Not really holiday weather. It was in the 70s today. 72-48. The Cougars beating up on the Wildcats at the moment. Conference USA News and Notes now. Memphis off to an 8-0 start, but facing Georgetown on Saturday. You're very fond of that Hoyas team. How is that one going to go?
Well, you know, I really like Georgetown. Roy Hibbert, Jonathan Wallace, and an emerging star in DeJuan Summers. Great freshman class coming in, and they went to the Final Four last year, and no one's talking about them. They may be playing along with Duke, probably the best in the country. So what a great matchup against Memphis. Robert Vaden having 28 points in the second half against this Kentucky team. And then you look at Houston, a resume win, possibly beating Kentucky. They still have UMass on the list, and Arizona here, the only team to beat Texas A&M.
Tulsa, one of those teams expected to vie for, everyone believes, the number 2 spot in Conference USA behind Memphis. Porter lost the handle on the dribble, saved it in, 7 to shoot. There's Carter. They got a little fortunate, but inside of the big fellow for the stuff. 72-50. Carter with 6 coming off the bench. He's actually been quite effective.
Yeah, he has, but I guarantee you that wasn't the play that Coach Gillespie called out of a timeout. But down 22 points, he'll take any type of offensive production he can get.
As mentioned, Houston has not been to the NCAA tournament since 1992. This is year 4 for Tom Penders. He has yet to take them there, but this might be the season. Dowell off the back iron. Dowell actually got kicked in the head accidentally by A.J. Stewart, who stumbled over him around midcourt on his way back to play defense.
I actually played Houston in 1992 here my senior year. They were led by Sam Mack. They built up a pretty big lead by knocking down a couple 3-point shots, and then Coach Smith gave us a nice talking to at halftime, and we were eventually able to get back.
Yeah, well, funny how many times that happened. Dave O'Brien and Tar Heel Hubert Davis with it. Great to have you along. We've got Sports Center coming up next, right after the contest from Hofheinz Pavilion here in Houston. The Houston Cougars led by a dozen at halftime, now up by 22. There's Crawford to get it to rattle in. That's a 2-pointer for Joe Crawford. He has 17. He shot the ball very well. It's about 47% shooting on the night for Kentucky, so that hasn't been a problem, nor was it a problem against UAB. They shot over 50% and lost over the weekend.
Well, it's been second chance points. They've allowed 16 offensive rebounds for Houston, and just being able not to be able to take care of the basketball.
Smith short with the 3-pointer. A 20-point lead Kentucky tries to cut into, but time is running short. 5.5 minutes left. Crawford baseline, got bodied up and fouled by Malone. Boy, what a Saturday we have coming at you. A Saturday to remember. Mark it down. December 22nd. Georgetown and Memphis starts it at noon, both in the top 5. Tennessee and Xavier follow. It's Stanford and Texas Tech at 4:30 on ESPN2. Number 5, Texas and Michigan State at 6:30 on ESPN2. And then we follow that with the nightcap, Illinois against Missouri at 8:30.
Well, you look at Tennessee, I said at the beginning of the year, everyone had them in the top 5. They struggled a little bit at the beginning of the year. Chris Lofton now starting to knock down that perimeter jump shot, but they had a great win last week against Western Kentucky, a team that I think is going to be in the NCAA tournament from the Sun Belt Conference, getting terrific play by Tyler Smith and J.P. Prince now eligible to play and really playing well. That's going to be a great test against Xavier, who is probably the best team in Atlantic 10, where Rhode Island and Dayton and UMass and St. Joe's.
Pressure here from the Wildcats, shredded by McKeever. Meeks back in, is shaking off his difficulties. Smith on the penetration will back it out. Landy Smith, the thing that Penders loves about him, he says he can look at any zone or any new defense that someone throws at us. He doesn't panic. We don't have to call a timeout.
Well, he understands how to play, and that's what's great about being a senior. He's been there before. You can see Houston having some confusion because they're trying to take time off the clock, but they're not used to that. They're used to going offensively.
They want to run. In traffic, Crawford denied by Dowell. A fine block by Deion Dowell has really had an outstanding night. Came in averaging 14 points and over 8 rebounds per game. And Dowell tonight was 17 and 7. Smith looked to shoot. Crawford with the defensive stop. Kentucky in transition. It's Harris with the lay-in. Timeout Gillespie. 72-56, but Dow with that block shot.
Yeah, they're trying to get the ball into the middle of Joey Crawford and Deion Dowell. You can see his versatility, knocking down threes, getting in transition, dunking on people, and then blocking shots. But Houston's struggling a little bit offensively, and we talked about this is a team that likes to go all the time, and right now they're trying to take time off the clock, and the result, they've had 2 straight turnovers on the offensive end.
One of the things you have to like about Dowell is his ability to block shots and keep it in play. This is something I remember Bill Russell used to talk about. Yeah, everyone has the ability at 6'8", 6'9", 6'10" to block shots, but if you can keep it in play and get that transition basket, it's worth double the value.
I agree with you. And you look at the versatility of Deion Dowell, how that's going to translate, in my opinion, at the next level, at 6'6", and being able to finish and shoot and defend. His versatility at the NBA level, he can play the 2-guard position, the small forward, and we talked about how he relates to Sean Marion in the Matrix. I'm sure there's a lot of NBA personnel looking at Deion Dowell.
Well, you wonder if those who vote for the top 25 are looking hard now at the Houston Cougars. The victory tonight improves them to 10-1. It'll be their 8th consecutive victory should they pull it out. McKeever airborne, around and out. And he has not had the spectacular night you thought they might need to knock off Kentucky. But other people have done their job for him. Crawford and the basket. He'll go to the line. Joe Crawford down trying to deny. Not this time. A 10-0 run for Kentucky. We have a timeout on the court, on the campus here at Houston. And the Cougars loving life against the Wildcats of Kentucky up 72-58. Coming up on SportsCenter on ESPN, Roger Clemens denies using performance enhancers. Kobe Bryant in Chicago and Tony Romo and that injured thumb. All with Linda Cohn and Scott Van Pelt coming up as soon as we finish up here in Houston. Hubert Davis, Dave O'Brien with him. Down the stretch we come, 3:59 remaining here at the Hopkins Pavilion. The Houston Cougars with a comfortable lead on Kentucky, although the Wildcats kicking it up here over the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, they've been doing a nice job of dribble penetrating, giving the ball to Joey Crawford on the perimeter. He's been able to get a couple good shots on these possessions, but in large part, Houston having trouble trying to run time off the clock. It's a team that likes to go up and down, and right now they're looking at the score and saying, okay, we don't need quick shots, but on the offensive end, they're going up against the shot clock, and they're getting into the lane, and turning the ball over, and Kentucky now finds himself only down by 13 points with a lot of time left.
Crawford with 22, Meeks with 21. To this point, though, Kentucky, although they're playing much better in the last few minutes, they needed somebody else. Smith with the drive to the basket, and he'll be going to the line. Well, the football team certainly needed someone else, and they have that man. Kevin Sumlin, the new head football coach here at Houston. This will be his first head coaching job. Previous gigs as offensive coordinator at Oklahoma, offensive coordinator at Texas A&M, and a long time as an assistant coach as well. And rooting on the Cougars tonight. Smith will go to the line here. Lanny Smith, the senior, 86% at the foul line. On the season, making 12 out of 14. 74-59. Crawford nearly gave that one away. Harris not quite ready for the pass. Here's Meeks to launch. Off the front iron. Picked off by Harris and up and over Deion Dowell. And high off the window. Lewis pushing that tempo, flips it out to Dowell, and Houston will set it up. Coming up on 3 minutes remaining here in Texas. Smith, here's Malone, he's had the hot hand. Crawford jumping into the paint.
Wow.
Again will go to the line. He is showing some strength.
Yeah, he really's done a nice job in transition, getting into the middle of the lane. We talked about his strength, being able to get contact and be able to finish into the lane in the last 5 minutes. This is the second time he's got into the lane, got contact against an athletic Deion Dowell, and goes to the free throw line. And more importantly, not only do they score, the clock stops.
Dowell picking up his third. Crawford trying to polish off a three-point play with 2:52 on that clock. And Kentucky starting to creep back in a little bit. Now down by 10. A 16-2 run for the Wildcats. Lewis on the... Oh! There's Dowell to finish it. Boy, that hurts. Wow. If you're Kentucky, that really stings. Just cut the lead to 10. Crawford again. Rebounded away by Dowell. Crawford with a big night. He has 24 points. Smith draws the double team, shovels it over to Malone. In and out. Lewis really out-fought the men in blue for the rebound big time.
Yeah, that's been the case for Houston throughout the whole game. Second chance points, and you get a 6'3" guard, Kelvin Lewis, able to get a second chance points offensive rebound.
Malone will try again. Crawford, who else for the rebound? Trying to bring Kentucky back single-handedly and lost it. Malone with the theft. 76-64. Dowell, Lewis. Yes! Calvin Lewis will go to the line. That's 4 on Michael Porter. The one that really brought the house down came seconds ago.
Yeah, Kentucky was picking up full court, and Houston did an outstanding job of breaking pressure. And Deion Dowell, you can see Clyde Drexler. Maybe Deion Dowell went higher than he could. I doubt it.
I doubt. 79-64. Back into the comfort zone for the Cougars. They have had this game circled on their calendar for a long time. McKeever going for the steal, knocked it out of bounds with 1:06 to go. And although this hasn't been the same Kentucky Wildcat team of past years or even last year, a win over Kentucky is still a win over Kentucky. Crawford zips underneath for Stewart to slam down, and a timeout. Gillespie. Well, tonight's Wrangler 5-star player of the game is the Houston Cougar, Deion Dowell. A major impact tonight with 19 points and 8 rebounds. And also made 3 of his 6 three-point shots, couple of blocks. He was all over the stat sheet.
Yeah, this is a transfer from Texas. How would he be in Texas's uniform right now? But a versatile player. You can see he can shoot from 3, can get into the lane, he can finish. Outstanding defender. He's the leading rebounder on this team at 6'6". He can block shots. So when you talk about versatility, this is a guy that impacts his team in many different areas.
And one of 5 seniors who often start for Tom Penders. College hoops continuing on ESPN Thursday night. A Big East ACC showdown. Sam Young and number 9 Pitt will take on number 7 Duke, led by freshman Kyle Singler from Madison Square Garden in New York City. It's college basketball, part of Holiday Hoops, presented by Kay Jewelers. A comparison, the 2 perfect 10-0 teams. And it's been a long time, really, since we've seen 2 teams that are ranked and perfect go head-to-head early in a season like this.
I tell you, I really like the way that Duke is playing. I mean, this is a team that lacks size, but they have tremendous versatility and a team that basically changed their style. You talked about Houston running a Phoenix-style offense. So is Duke now, really pushing the ball up the floor. DeMarcus Nelson, in my opinion, a senior, having his best year. And, you know, Duke has something that a lot of teams don't have right now. They have great team chemistry to get after it on the defensive end. I look for them to beat Pittsburgh in Madison Square Garden on Thursday night.
We will have that one for you. And here we are with 59 seconds left. Still pressure from Kentucky. McKeever breaks that on the dribble. Houston is led by as many as 25 tonight. Porter with the reach-in foul to stop the clock with 50 seconds left. That'll be his 5th. And that's it for Michael Porter. Well, Tom Penders wanted to get that score up into the upper 70s, into the 80s. That has worked to perfection.
Yeah, they really have. They've been able to get in transition, really force Kentucky into a lot of turnovers. So those turnovers related into Houston points on the end. And we talked about the loss of Patrick Patterson right before the game. He said he couldn't go with the ankle sprain. So that took away their guy that they can throw the ball to down low on the post. They had to play a small lineup, and Jody Meeks, out a month and a half, came in and played a great first half, but just not enough offense, not enough rebounding defensive effort for Kentucky tonight.
Tom Penders was a terrific athlete himself. He was not just the point guard and team captain at UConn in the 60s. He's also a star center fielder. He was drafted by the Cleveland Indians in 1968. The Western Carolina League All-Star that year, then was promoted to Double-A. So he was on his way to the big leagues. He was buying some pretty good players, but that's when he decided to become a college basketball coach and pursue his real love. But he's a heck of an athlete.
He was an outstanding coach. We had an opportunity to spend shoot-around with him, and he's one of those coaches that you would just love to play for. He loves the kids to have fun. He's doing an excellent job here at Houston.
Crawford now with 28. Another backcourt foul to stop the clock at 38.5 seconds remaining. And McKeever to go to the line. Tom Penders, a guy who has been to 7 different schools as a head coach. Tonight will be his 594th career victory.
You remember him a lot from Texas. And talk about great guard play here for Houston. His guard play at Texas was pretty good with Travis Mays and Lance Blanks and B.J. Tyler and Terrence Richards. So he really produces guys on the perimeter that can get it done in college and in the NBA.
He's coached in the Ivy League. He's coached in the Big 12. And He's trying to get Houston back to the NCAA tournament for the first time since 1992. Malone on the baseline. The Cougars with a big lead, 81-69. And that's all that is left for Kentucky, is to pile up the fouls and try and stop this one from running to zeros on the clock. The first 4-game losing streak for them since 89-90 is about to happen here tonight. The losses in succession to Carolina, Indiana, UAB, and now Houston, the last 2 to Conference USA opponents. It's a difficult time in transition for the Kentucky program. I mean, difficult for them is 4-5, which is about as tough as it gets these days for this proud program. Bill's off to Crawford, working on his 28. Harris got a piece of that one. Dowell. And the final seconds now for Houston. The clock will run out. And the crowd is loving this one. A victory over the Kentucky Wildcats. Tom Penders in Houston now 10-1. Kentucky falls to 4-5. 83-69 the final. SportsCenter is next. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For my partner Hubert Davis, I'm Dave O'Brien saying good night from Houston, Texas. Thanks so much for joining us, and SportsCenter starts right now.